The California night air, thick with the scent of eucalyptus and the distant drone of freeway traffic, was meant to offer a sense of comfort. For 17-year-old Sarah, the walk home from her after-school job at the local diner should have been a familiar ritual, a transition from the demands of work to the sanctuary of her family's small house nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The streetlights, casting pools of yellow light onto the cracked pavement, were usually a reassuring guide. But as she stepped out into the darkness on that fateful night in 1984, an invisible predator lurked in the shadows, his presence as deadly as it was unseen. Little did she know, as she clutched her worn purse a little tighter and quickened her pace, the familiar rhythm of her footsteps a counterpoint to the growing unease in her chest, that this walk would be her last. Sarah, like many teenagers on the cusp of adulthood, was a creature of habit and routine. Her world revolved around her close-knit group of friends, her dreams of a future brimming with possibilities, perhaps attending college, exploring the world, and the complex, often exhilarating, navigation of adolescence. She wasn't perfect, no teenager is. She had her quiet moments of introspection, her teenage frustrations, but she possessed a certain spark, a resilience that friends and family cherished. She had a mischievous glint in her eye when telling a joke and a fiercely loyal heart. However, beneath her youthful exterior, a darkness had begun to stir. Earlier that day, in the privacy of her bedroom, amidst the scattered notebooks and posters of popular bands, she had poured her heart out onto paper, scribbling down a goodbye, a testament to the profound pain and confusion she felt. The suicide note, a raw, heart-wrenching expression of despair, offered a chilling glimpse into the internal turmoil she had been battling. It was a cry for help, a desperate plea that, tragically, went unanswered. It was a tragic sign, a precursor to an even greater tragedy that would be discovered too late. The man who would become her final tormentor was already a ghost in the community, a phantom of fear that haunted the streets of California. He was a predator who had stalked his victims with chilling precision, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and unanswered questions that gnawed at the very fabric of public safety. In the preceding months, 8 women, all seemingly unconnected by age, occupation, or social circle, had vanished. Their disappearances, initially treated as isolated incidents, the kind that sent ripples of concern through a neighborhood but were often attributed to personal choices or unfortunate accidents, were quickly morphing into a terrifying, undeniable pattern. The victims were of varying ages and backgrounds, from young students to middle-aged mothers, but they all shared a chilling commonality. They vanished without a trace, swallowed by the insatiable darkness. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, each leaving behind a gaping hole in the lives of those who loved them. Each disappearance amplified the sense of dread that had begun to permeate the community, turning once familiar streets into potential hunting grounds and friendly faces into objects of suspicion. The timeline of this unfolding nightmare began to crystallize on that single, fateful night. Sarah, clocking out from her shift at the diner, the smell of fried food and stale coffee clinging to her uniform, took her usual route home. Her footsteps, usually light and quick, echoed on the quiet pavement, a solitary sound in the stillness. The streetlights, positioned at irregular intervals, cast long, ominous shadows that danced and flickered, playing tricks on the eye, distorting the familiar into the sinister. The killer, who had been watching and waiting, a phantom of the urban landscape, saw his chance. He had been observing the city, calculating, planning, his movements as deliberate as a spider weaving its web. He knew her route, her routine, the precise moment she would be most vulnerable. As Sarah walked, perhaps lost in thought about the day's events or her future aspirations, the predator struck. It was a sudden, brutal burst of violence, a brief, desperate struggle that was swiftly silenced, and then, nothing. Sarah vanished, leaving behind only the lingering scent of eucalyptus and the unnerving silence of her absence. The following morning, a knot of anxiety began to tighten in Sarah's parents' stomachs when she failed to arrive for her shift at the diner, a place where she was known for her punctuality and cheerful demeanor. When she didn't answer phone calls, her phone likely left on her nightstand, and her familiar silhouette did not appear at the front door. They reported her missing, triggering a frantic search that encompassed her worried friends, her concerned neighbors who scoured their own backyards, and the local law enforcement, their flashing lights painting streaks of blue and red across the dawn sky. But it was too late. The trail was already cold, buried deep in the dark heart of the killer's depraved design, a design that had been meticulously crafted over months of clandestine observation and brutal execution. The search for the killer, a phantom responsible for the disappearances of 9 women, continued relentlessly. The investigators, exhausted but driven by a desperate need to bring closure to the grieving families and restore a semblance of safety to the community, worked around the clock. They canvassed the neighborhood where Sarah had last been seen, the familiar streets now imbued with a chilling new significance. They interviewed potential witnesses, piecing together fragmented sightings and hushed rumors, and followed up on every possible lead, no matter how seemingly insignificant. But the killer remained one step ahead, a ghost in the machine, his movements as elusive as smoke. The emotional impact of Sarah's disappearance, coupled with the unresolved agony of the 8 other women's unsolved murders, was devastating. Families were left to grieve in the suffocating shadow of uncertainty, their hearts forever aching with unanswered questions and the unbearable weight of absence. Friends, paralyzed by grief and a gnawing fear, struggled to come to terms with the loss, their youthful optimism irrevocably tarnished. The community, once a place of perceived safety and neighborly warmth, was forever scarred by the events of that year. The comforting sense of security was shattered, replaced by the constant, insidious threat of the unknown. Children were warned to be extra cautious, their innocent playtime now tinged with a new awareness of danger, and neighbors, once greeting each other with familiar smiles, began to look at each other with a subtle, underlying suspicion. Sarah's case, and the chilling string of unsolved murders, became a stark and terrifying reminder of the darkness that can exist just beneath the surface of everyday life. It highlighted the profound fragility of life, the capricious and often brutal unpredictability of fate, and the enduring, soul-crushing pain of loss. The case became a cautionary tale, a stark warning against complacency, a desperate plea for vigilance in a world that often lulls its inhabitants into a false sense of security. It was a testament to the importance of community vigilance, the power of collective action when faced with overwhelming evil, and the relentless, often arduous, pursuit of justice. The current status of the case remains a painful, unresolved mystery. The identity of the killer remains an elusive ghost, a phantom lurking in the periphery of memory and speculation. The fate of Sarah and the other 8 women remains unknown, a void that can never be truly filled. The case, shrouded in the mists of time and buried beneath layers of unanswered questions, lingers in the realm of the unsolved, a chilling testament to the enduring power of evil to evade retribution. The families of the victims still cling to the faintest hope for answers, their prayers whispered into the indifferent wind. The authorities, though years have passed, continue to revisit the dusty evidence, sifting through old files and re-examining cold trails, desperately searching for that one elusive breakthrough that might finally shed light on the darkness. The impact of the case extends far beyond the immediate families of the victims, rippling outward to shape the collective memory of the community and beyond. The case has been the subject of countless whispered discussions, fervent speculation, and an unending stream of theories. It has been memorialized in newspaper articles, grim documentaries, and local histories, each retelling adding another layer to its haunting legacy. The memory of Sarah and the other 8 women serves as a chilling reminder of the unseen dangers that can lurk within the seemingly familiar, transforming ordinary walks and everyday routines into potential moments of profound peril. In a world that often promises safety and security, a world where the mundane is usually just that, mundane, the case of Sarah and the 8 women serves as a stark, unforgettable reminder that evil can exist and that the pursuit of justice is a marathon, not a sprint, a battle that is never truly over. The case, like an open, festering wound, continues to haunt the consciousness of those who remember, a testament to the human capacity for both unimaginable cruelty and unwavering resilience, and the enduring, frustrating power of mystery. In conclusion, the story of Sarah and the 8 missing women, it is a story of a bright young life extinguished prematurely, of unanswered questions that echo through the years, and a community forever marked by a pervasive and debilitating fear. It is a story that serves as a stark, unforgettable reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the shadows, and the enduring, unyielding need for justice. It is a story that will continue to haunt the streets of California, its whispers carried on the eucalyptus-scented breeze, until the truth, however painful, is finally revealed. The missing women are gone, and their absence is a constant, agonizing reminder of a devastating crime. The families are still heartbroken, their grief a persistent companion. They are still searching, they are still waiting, and desperately hoping for closure, for a moment of peace that seems perpetually out of reach. They are hoping for justice, but they are still living in a state of unending grief, a grief that time has not been able to heal. The killer, a shadowy figure who has evaded capture for so long, remains at large, a chilling symbol of the dark corners of human nature, a reminder that some monsters walk among us, unseen and unpunished. This is the story of a haunting mystery, a story that demands to be remembered, and a plea for justice that will never be silenced.